Hi, so let's take an overview of this Accuplacer Next Generation Master Course Math section. So in the Math section, there are actually three tests, three areas that will be tested on. So the first one being arithmetic, the second one being quantitative reasoning, and the third, algebra and functions. So let's take a look at what is inside the arithmetic section. So the arithmetic is the very first level, which you need to get a certain score so that you can take the quantitative reasoning. So there are 5 topics in the arithmetic section, which are whole numbers. So whole numbers is just that section is actually just testing your understanding of basic operations in math. It starts with addition, 1 plus 1. Of course, they will not ask that question. Addition, subtraction, so minus, multiplication, and division. So this is what we're going to learn in that section of whole numbers. And next we have fractions, same operations, decimal operations, percentage, how to find the percentage of a number with regard to another number, and how to get the percentage of something, say 10% of 150. And lastly, number comparison and equivalency. Can you compare a fraction with a whole number? Can you compare a fraction with a decimal with a percentage? So these are the 5 topics in the arithmetic section. If you master these 5, you will be guaranteed, almost guaranteed, to get 100% in that section of the math test. Now, let's move on to the quantitative reasoning section. It has double in number of topics than the arithmetic section. And those topics are rational numbers, which is just fractions said in a different way, like number dividing another number, ratio and proportional relationships. This is when you see rates, miles per hour, liter per second. So those type of things where you see the keyword per. So that's where we're going to master. We're going to understand how to answer those questions. Exponents. This is where you have x squared, x to the 10th, how they multiply. You know, x to the 10th times x to the 15th. What is that? What does that give you? And those formulas. And number 4, we have algebraic expression. This is just the family of x's, how to use x to manipulate an expression that has unknown values like x and y. Number 5, we have linear equations, how to describe a function in terms of graphs. This is actually number 6, but number 4 is the equations of lines, how to find them, how to identify the slope, how to identify the y-intercept and the meaning of those. So number 7, probability and sets. So this is where they give you a table of data and ask you what is the probability of finding something, one thing in an entire population. Like what is the probability? Descriptive statistics. This is where you have a distribution of data over a certain independent variable, let's say age, how many people are 20 or younger, 20 to 22 years old, and so on. And how do we find the mean, the median, and all of that. And number 9, things get more complicated, the geometric concept of pre-algebra. So here is where you see similar triangles, Pythagorean theorem, and number 10, you'll be seeing a cosine, sine, and how to find them, secant, and so on. So these are the 10 topics in quantitative reasoning, and as long as you get all these 10, you are almost guaranteed to get 100% in that section, even if you did not take these classes at school, in high school. Last but not least, that's the biggest, the most difficult. I would say yes, the most advanced, but not the most difficult. And it has, not surprisingly, 11 topics, which are linear equations. So here they're just going more in depth. They are just making things more complicated, but it's not really. So linear equation applications of that, factoring. This is interesting. Factoring, how when you have an example here, when you have x 2x minus 3, how do you FOIL this? So this is called distribution. But how do you go from 2x squared minus 6x minus 3x, my bad, minus 3x back to this expression? This is called factoring. Functions, here again, quadratic and functions. Here again, it's the same functions of x, but now they're going up to a degree of 3 using x squared instead of linear equations. And then next we have radical and rational equations. So this is just square root of numbers. So let's say x squared equals 2. What is x? Square root of 2 plus or minus. So this is where you will learn those intricacies of radical and rational equations. And it's not that complicated. Number 7, polynomial equations. Again, here we're going to learn how to solve quadratic, and the famous quadratic equation, here's where you use it. And there's also the long division that you will see. And number 8, exponential and logarithm equations. Again, this is just a formula that doesn't take more than 5 minutes to master. Just see how they are solved. It's not that advanced at all. And number 9, geometric concept for algebra 1. Again, it's the same topics from like we saw above, but it's going to be more advanced with trig, tangent, and cotangent, and sine, cosecant, and their inverses. Again,